Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Don't skip forward. I know some people don't always stick around for the intros. They like to get right on into the DIYs. I don't blame you. I can be that way sometimes too. But I have some good information for you. This video, I decided to do it in part of HeidiSonboul's Easter DIY challenge. So I will be including it in a playlist with some other fabulous DIYers out there. And HeidiSonboul will end up choosing somebody who has her favorite DIY. So this is the first time I've entered this type of a challenge where somebody's actually looking at your DIYs and they're going to go through a bunch of other videos and pick a favorite. So a little nervous, never put myself out there like that. So if you could give me a thumbs up if you enjoy this video, if you can give me some comments down below, I would greatly appreciate the support. And I am just super excited. I have a couple other things I will be announcing in the video. I know you won't want to miss one of these things, so make sure you don't. Make sure you stick around and listen for that, and let me know what you think. So let's go ahead, jump on in, and let's get this party started. So for this first DIY, we're going to use this sign that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, along with this cross that I just got last week at my local Dollar Tree, so you should still hopefully be able to get it as well. And we are going to get this sign prepped by removing the hanging tag that came on it. And we're going to use this handy dandy little tool that I get in a pack of tools from the Crafter's Square section. And we're going to use it to remove the staples in the back of this sign. Once we have the staples removed, we're just going to sand it out a little bit. It really didn't need much, just a light sanding to go over the areas where the staple was in. Now, I originally was going to use the front of the sign, but honestly, when I did the sign, I was not in the mood to deal with all the glitter and the glue that is under that glitter. So I decided just to use the back. And we are going to use my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and we're going to give the whole back of this sign a full coverage. It really only took maybe 2 coats in some spots, but it covers really well. Then we're going to get the cross ready while that dries, and you will see a total blonde moment, and this is the type of stuff I do in life. See those screws? I was trying to pull it out. I thought it was just stuck in the wood. Nope, just get a little screwdriver, and it'll be a lot easier if you just remove it without wiggling it like I was trying to for a while. Then we're going to take that same white paint and we're going to cover the wooden part of the cross, and just make sure you get the sides of it as well with a little paintbrush. Now the sides, I only did 1 coat. The front, because of the black that was on it, I did have to give it about 3 good coats. While my cross dries, my sign was dried, so I flipped it over and I'm using my little heat gun to heat up the glue that is holding this frame on. Y'all, this came off so easily, so much quicker than what it would have taken for me to remove the glitter on this sign. This was so much easier. I'm using that handy dandy little tool again. We're just gonna flop this right off. We're gonna make sure we pull off any pieces that are attached. And voila, our frame is ready to go on what is now the new front to our sign. Now, there are some staples that you see sticking out that they had to hold it in place, and we're just going to push those down so that way we can prep the back of the sign. I want this to really have a polished, finished look. So we're going to cover this in this black felt that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. We're just going to cut it out the same size of the sign. I'm going to use some Mod Podge, and we are going to get this felt in place. Once I have it pressed down, it don't take long for it to dry, and we are able to flip it over and start getting our frame in place. So now I'm just going to lay my frame out the way I would like it to be placed on my sign, and then I'm going to glue it in place. Now, normally you'll never see me use hot glue on wood for something that I want to have a permanent hold,
But I do plan on using my staple gun to go in, and I will staple it from the back side so that way it pokes into the frame just like it was in the original sign before we took it apart. So if you're not going to use staples, if you don't have a staple gun, you may want to add something a little bit more permanent with the hot glue if you don't want to worry about your wood coming apart. Since I had to give so many layers to cover the black on this cross, I'm just going to sand it down to make sure it's all nice and smooth. And I'm going to take my gray chalk paint, my folk art chalk paint, and I am going to dry brush around the edges and the top of my cross. I didn't want it to be a solid white. It would blend in too much with the white sign I have. And frankly, once it was done, this gives it a much more rustic look, which I think is perfect for a cross. So I was really happy once I added the gray, how rustic it looked, and it just helped the cross pop out even more on my white sign. Grab a pack of these rub-on transfers that you can get in the Crafter Square sticker area at your local Dollar Tree. I don't know I've ever not seen these. I pretty much see these at every Dollar Tree. I have multiple of them. I love them. I love the look these give. And I am just going to cut out all of the matching pieces here to this certain look. And I'm going to cut all the ones that match on the sheet, and I'm going to just place them out where I think I would like them to be on the sign. I'm going to kind of lay them out so that way I can see before I start putting them in place. I even put the cross down so that way I know where that's going to be, because I want the greenery to look like it's coming from the frame to my sign. I want it to look like it's just kind of wrapped around and coming out from the edges. We're using this awesome little tool again. Boy, I have gotten a lot of use out of it for this DIY, and it helps me pull up the sheets perfectly too to remove them from these little rub-ons. And I am just starting off with the ones, I'm going to add a lot more of these rub-ons. I just tend to start off small and add more as I go. Is anyone else like that? I'm always too worried about making something look too busy. I don't know. It's part of my creative process, I guess. So I'll get working on something and I'll just add a little bit. Like here, I'm just going to add a little bit of the greenie. Keep working on it. Add a little bit more. Get down to the end and be like, okay, maybe I can add a few more here. So I do end up adding more, but this will allow me to make sure that I'm not getting it a little bit too busy. But I have plenty left over. I am going to set aside so that way when I get to the end, once I realize, okay, I would like some here or I would like some here, I have plenty to go in that place and they will get put to use. But this will allow me to put my wording down, allow me to get the cross in place and make sure it's not too busy and it's going to be exactly the way I like. So next we need to get this cross glued in place. It is metal. I'm not a huge fan of working with metal, so I am going to put E6000 on this and I'm going to use my hot glue. I don't know why, I just struggled to get metal to stick to some things. I think because this is a wood sign, I don't think I'll have an issue the way I would if it was going on other metal or a wreath or something of that nature. So you see the little areas where it's kind of raised. We need to make sure that we get the glue, especially the E6000 for that more permanent hold. We need to make sure we get the glue there. So I'm just making sure I know exactly where I want it to go. Oh, and I do get asked a lot about what hot glue I use because some people say their stuff comes apart. Y'all get this Gorilla Glue. Just get a bag of it. It's a little bit more expensive. My stuff never comes apart. It's amazing. I have stuff I've made years ago, still is just fine with hot glue. I've never had any issues with that hot glue. My wreaths, nothing comes apart. It's fantastic. So back to the project at hand. Grab that E6000 and just put it all over the whole back. Don't worry about putting too much. We don't want this to come apart. Put it on all the elevated edges here to the back of our cross. Once we have the whole thing covered in our E6000, then we are going to take our hot glue and we are going to put plenty of it on the back as well, because that is going to give us that quick hold that we need right now in order to finish our sign. And again, because I do tend to struggle with keeping metal objects down, I think the fact that we have E6000 and hot glue is just going to be a perfect combination for this metal, making sure it holds on our wood sign the way we need it to. Once you have all of your glue in place, then you're just going to set it lightly on the sign where you want it to go. And then maybe it's the angle I'm at. Maybe you won't have this issue because you won't be recording. But just lift up the sign, make sure it's straight, make sure it's not crooked, make sure it's exactly where you want it. Then press firmly in place after you have wiggled it around or moved it if you had to. Then just press, and that hot glue will hold right away, keeping it in place while the E6000 dries. So then you're going to see I go back in and I do add a couple more of those pieces of greenery to the sign. And then at the very end, I still go in and add a couple more. Like I said, my creative process starts slow and it just moves throughout the whole project. Next, if you have a baby wipe, grab a baby wipe. I didn't, so I am using a piece of wet paper towel. It will work just as well. Grab that same white chalk paint, and we are going to give our wood a weathered look. It's going to allow the wood to come through. I don't want to cover up all the wood grain. I just didn't like the way the wood looked. I wanted it to have a little bit of a different color. And this is the perfect way to do it. This is the perfect way to make it to where you're not covering it so thick that you can no longer see the wood grain. You don't need to put a lot of paint on it. It don't take a lot, and just blend it on in. Once you have that on, I'm going to grab my gray chalk paint, and I'm going to use a dry paper towel, and I'm just going to blend it in over certain spots. I'm not necessarily doing the whole piece in that. It's just going to brighten up some of the white, since we do have a white background to our sign. And this is the quote that I am putting on the sign. I printed it off with my Cricut, and I'm just going to put it in place. I had seen this quote in a store actually on a sign, but it was just nothing but like a piece of wood with a quote on it. There was nothing else on the sign. And I thought, oh, I love this quote. Maybe it's because of what our family went through in 2019 and 2020, but I don't know, this quote is just so true. So I just wanted it to be on something that has a little bit more. I love the cross. When I saw this cross, I immediately knew I was going to use it with this quote. Once I have everything in place, I do add, again, like I said, a few more pieces of greenery to give it that final touch. And I absolutely love the way it turned out. It's exactly what I had envisioned. Now, here is one of my first announcements for this video. If you love this sign and you're thinking, I want to make it, but I would have to use stickers and I don't have a Cricut. I want to send the vinyl stickers in this quote to 3 people. In the spirit of giving and Easter and just how much I love this quote, if you would like to recreate this sign, let me know in the comments below. The first 3 people I will reach out to, and I will send you the vinyl stickers in this saying so you can recreate this sign. So now we are really jumping right on into the next DIY. I used this little wooden house from the Dollar Tree, took all the pieces that were on the front and the twine, took everything off, got it all prepped, used my heat gun to take the stickers off the back, did sand down the little area where the stickers were removed, and then painted it in my Waverly chalk paint in the color white. Then I took some twine and wrapped it around the top of my little house here, and took a piece and tied it in a knot towards the top. Then I have more of those transfers from that original pack that we just used in our first sign. These are a little bit of a different look, and I'm going to just put them along the bottom of this little house. Almost makes it look like it's grass or something coming up from the house. And then I have these 2 packs of stickers, and I love them. They're like little raised, elevated, such cute stickers. And of course, from the Dollar Tree, and I took 2 off, put them together, and I'm going to glue them in place on one of the pieces of twine that I tied in that knot that's hanging down from the top twine. I'm just going to glue this in place. And then I am going to take this bag of beads that if you have been watching multiple of my videos, you've seen me use these beads a dozen times and I still have plenty to go around. I'm going to grab some from there and I'll have the link to those beads in my description box below, by the way. If you're looking for a really good deal on beads, it's the best price I have ever found on that size of bag. And I'm going to use 3 beads. I'm going to put them in place. And this was the quickest, easiest DIY I could probably get you today. But I really loved how this little house, again, I'm really into white this Easter. And I loved how this just sits perfectly with, and a little candle in front of it with the sign that I just made earlier in this video. I think it all just goes very well together. And so now we're going to jump right on into the last DIY in this video. I am going to use this calendar page from the most popular calendars that came out this year at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use this sign I have left over from fall. They do have this exact same shape, a sign out right now for Easter. So hopefully you, if you didn't save one over from fall or Christmas, they pretty much have it for every holiday that I've ever seen out at the Dollar Tree. I am going to prep a piece of cardstock and I'm just going to glue it to the back of my sign because again, I am just apparently in the mood to have all of my projects with that final finished look today. I am going to use my glue stick to glue it in place to the back side. Now, I did lay the sign on my paper wrong, so you will see my edges were not cut perfectly. Make sure you lay the sign down the other direction and then it will be cut out perfect for you and you won't have to do the little patchwork that I did. Not a big deal. It's the back of my sign and it still ended up being covered. I just had to trim it up and cover a couple spots. Then once we have back of the sign done, we are just going to take what is now the front and we are going to take the calendar and make sure we're putting it in place so that way the part of the calendar that we want to see on the sign is what is going to be cut around and it will stand out. So as you can see, the area where the paper is going to be on, that's the side you want to lay down on the sheet you are cutting in order to have it cut properly to be placed on the sign without it being cut and having to fix like I did the scrapbook paper for the back. Then take some truffle chalk paint and cover the edges to the sign. It does not take a lot of paint. I'm just covering the edges where we will see once we get the sign in place after we Mod Podge it down. Then I'm going to take some twine and this bead garland and I'm going to wrap them around the top and bottom of the sign where the calendar and the wood meet. So that way you're not seeing the edge to the paper. It just kind of finishes it off a little bit better and helps it give it more of a finished look. So you'll see that I did pull the original hanger back through the holes so that way I knew where it would be in place. Then I added the garland that I picked up at the Dollar Tree to the top and bottom as well. And it just, you can hardly even see where your calendar meets the wood sign at all. And then back to this bag of beads, we are going to feed them on to the hanger that originally came and just give it a better little thing to hang it up with. Then we're going to take that same truffle paint and we're just going to paint dry brush around the edges. This truffle paint blends in perfect. It is the almost identical color to the paint that is on this calendar sheet, y'all. So it works perfect to blend it in to where it don't even look like a calendar. And I am so happy with it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed my video, make sure you subscribe today.
So one of the things I am excited to tell you about today is really just in regards to my schedule. I am going to be bringing you 2 new videos every week, and my new uploads will always be on Tuesdays and Fridays. That seems to be the days, the evenings that work the best for a lot of my viewers. So I want to make sure I'm bringing my videos to you at a time that works best for you. I'm excited about many of the videos I have coming your way. You don't want to miss out on any of them. Make sure you have subscribed and make sure you have hit that bell so that way you can be notified every time I upload a new video. I am so excited that you've all decided to join me on this journey. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. I hope you have already heard the other announcement I had in this video, and I hope you all have the most wonderful week.